With the new Euroleague season already here, it's time to discuss this year's power rankings for the competition. Today, we'll divide the teams into 4 groups of potential, and although it's still very early, we'll provide a final ranking for this year's Euroleague. Let's begin. The first group will contain the teams we believe will have the best performance in this year's Euroleague and will aim for the final 4 of the competition. In the second group, we'll place the teams we think will make it to the final 8 of the competition and will also push for a spot in the final 4 through the playoffs, having a slight disadvantage compared to the teams in the first group. In the third group, we'll place the teams that will fall just short of the playoffs, either in the play-in or slightly outside of it, meaning positions 11 and below. Finally, in the fourth group, we'll position the teams that we don't believe have a strong chance of competing for the top 10 positions that secure a playoff spot. Let's take a look. Let's start with the fourth group of potential. The first team we find there and we believe will be one of the weakest this year is Alba Berlin. The Germans didn't make any notable moves in the off-season, resulting in a roster that lacks the necessary strength needed for a team in this year's Euroleague. Unless there's a significant surprise, we believe that Alba will be the weakest team in the competition by a significant margin, and it's highly likely to finish at the bottom of the standings. Next, we've placed Baskonia. The Spanish team saw its 2 best players Darius Thompson and Gudritis depart in the summer. The team's roster has been renewed with young players who have a lot of talent but lack experience in the competition. It appears that Baskonia will be a team that provides opportunities to the young players in the hope that some of them will step up. Under these circumstances, we believe that Baskonia cannot compete with most of the teams in the competition. In this transitional year, Marcus Howard will be by far the team's leading scorer and will likely secure a move to a higher-level team next season. In the next position in the rankings, we find Žalgiris. The Lithuanians, as always, didn't make any significant moves in the off-season, and it seems we'll see the same picture from them as in recent years. They are a team that competes in every game and can make it difficult for anyone through their teamwork. Also, Žalgiris has one of the strongest home courts in the Euroleague, and even teams aiming high in the competition can find it challenging to get past them. Nevertheless, we don't believe that Žalgiris can reach very high in this year's standings. In the 15th position, we find Valencia. The Bats made several moves during the summer, bringing in players who may not have much experience in the competition but are eager to prove themselves. They have a very good coach, and in our opinion they will be one of the most fun to watch teams in the Euroleague this season. However, they are unlikely to threaten the teams in the top 10, but they could pose a problem for any team that underestimates them. Next, we have Villeurbanne. Tony Parker's team is coming off a very poor season in which they were by far the worst team in the Euroleague. However, it seems that things have changed for the better this year due to the additions they made in the summer. Even so, this team doesn't appear to have the quality to challenge the teams aiming for the top 10 positions. We believe they will be a good team that should not be underestimated, but they lack the quality to compete with most of the teams in this year's Euroleague, and we don't think they can finish higher than 14th place. The fourth group concludes with Virtus. The Italians had an interesting off-season, making several good additions. However, they enter the season with a peculiarity as they change their coach less than a month before the start of the Euroleague, and this could be something that costs them. They are the first team we see with a relatively deep roster with quality in all positions. Still, considering the competitiveness of this year's competition, Virtus appears to have a ceiling of the 13th position and won't threaten the teams competing for play-in spots. Now, let's move on to the third group of potential and the teams that will fight until the end for their presence in the playoffs through the play-in. The first team we find here is Maccabi Tel Aviv. The team from Israel certainly doesn't have the deepest and most quality roster compared to the teams placed above them. Still, year in and year out they have proven to be a team with a very good team plan and a home court that is difficult for anyone to break. This year, based on how the roster is configured, Maccabi seems to rely heavily on its quality guards and with the home advantage will strive to secure a place in the playoffs until the end. Immediately after, we have Bayern. In Pablo Lasso's first full year on the team's bench, Bayern made several good moves in the summer, creating a quality and competitive roster for this year's competition. It is certain that we will see a team that will faithfully follow the coach's plan, and this year they will lay the foundation for adopting the right mentality and establishing themselves among the top teams in Europe in the coming years. However, as far as this season is concerned, based on the current competition, Bayern doesn't seem to be in the greatest position for a top 10 finish, but they will fight until the end. Next, we have placed Partizan. Zeljko Obradovic's team lost some of its best players from last season, and despite their good efforts to replace them, we believe that the roster has become slightly weaker compared to last year. If the team can find chemistry and the new players they brought in can meet expectations, then Partizan may have the potential to reach higher in the competition. However, despite our full trust in Zeljko Obradovic, we believe that the competition this year is very strong and Partizan is unlikely to reach a high position in this year's Euroleague. The team that closes the third group, and in our belief will come closest to the playoffs compared to all the others, is Armani Milano. A team that disappointed last year with its performance, but we believe that this year it will show a reaction and perform well. It is a team that has it all, good players, and a very experienced and good coach. During the summer, they made good moves with the highlight being the signing of Nikola Mirotic, which many consider the best move of the summer. They have built a roster that can compete with all the teams in the competition. We believe they will be very close to the playoffs, but in the end they won't make it due to details. Now, let's move on to the second group of potential with the teams that we believe will reach the playoffs and most likely be eliminated just before the Final Four. In our opinion, the first team in this group is Efes. The Turkish champions are coming off a poor season where they missed the playoffs and displayed a rather poor performance throughout the Euroleague season. The summer brought many changes as the team replaced a significant portion of its Turkish core, lost its best player, and changed its coach. Despite these changes, Efes still has a very quality and deep roster to which they added Darius Thompson to try to fill the void left by Misic. If the American player can integrate well with the team, Efes could be a problem for any opponent. Immediately after, in the first position emerging from the play-in, we believe Fenerbahce will be. This particular team faced injuries for a large part of last season, but in the playoffs they went toe-to-toe with Olympiacos and came very close to the Final Four. This year, they strengthened significantly and built a deep roster with a lot of experience, capable of competing with all the other teams in the competition. We believe that compared to the other teams in the play-in, Fenerbahce has a slight advantage, and with one way or another, they will secure a place in the Euroleague playoffs. Next, we have placed a team that had one of the best and probably the second best off-season in Europe. That team is none other than Crvena Zvezda. Ivanovic's team may have lost some of its best players, but with the moves made during the summer, they managed to create a team that is much stronger than last season and one of the best in Europe. The roster is filled with quality and experience in all positions, and in combination with what is considered one of the hottest home courts in Europe, Crvena Zvezda could threaten one of the Final Four spots, although the road there will be very difficult because the teams above them are also exceptional. The team that will close the second group is perhaps the most unpredictable team in the Euroleague for this season, and that is Panathinaikos. The Greens had their worst season in history last year, and after several years out of contention, they decided to make a strong comeback to the European elite. During the summer, they had the best off-season in all of Europe, bringing in 11 new players and one of the top coaches in Europe, Ergin Ataman. Panathinaikos certainly has one of the top rosters in the Euroleague, but the fact that we are talking about a team that was built from scratch and has not had the time to develop the necessary chemistry could cost them. Additionally, Panathinaikos has invested in some players who have talent but are relatively inexperienced for the highest level of the competition. For all these reasons, we believe that Panathinaikos is the most unpredictable team in the Euroleague, and we might see him fighting to make it to the playoffs through the play-in, but also potentially reaching one of the Final Four spots. Now we come to the first group of potential with the teams we believe have the best chances of reaching the Final Four and competing for the Euroleague title. The team that opens this group is Barcelona. After the era of Jasikevičius and the departure of Mirotic, Barcelona made a few but good moves in the summer and managed to build a very nice roster with depth in all positions and some bets. One of these bets is Jabari Parker, who if he stays healthy and adapts, gives Barcelona a lot of chances to win the competition. Together with Willy Hernangomez, they form one of the best frontlines in Europe. The reason why Barcelona is preferred over teams like Crvena Zvezda or Panathinaikos is because they have the knowledge to reach the Final Four, as they have been there consistently in recent years. In the third position, we have placed Olympiacos. Last year's Euroleague finalists saw their two leaders leave in the summer, and the team's moves were not made to fill the gaps left by those players. On the contrary, it seems like Olympiacos will change its playing style and offense, but will continue to rely on excellent ball movement, tactical basketball, and tough defense. With one of the best coaches in Europe and a roster without major weaknesses, Olympiacos has serious chances to reach their third consecutive Final Four, with the goal this time to win it all. In the second position, we have placed Monaco. We are talking about a team that has aimed for the Final Four and Euroleague title in recent years. Last year, they came very close being eliminated in the semi-finals by Olympiacos, and this year they retained most of that roster while making some good additions, with the strongest being Kemba Walker. If Kemba can stay healthy and adapt to the team and European basketball, Monaco has many chances to win the title. We are now talking about a team with experience and quality that can compete with anyone. In the first position and as the biggest favorite for the regular season and the title, we don't think it's strange that we have placed Real Madrid. The defending champions not only kept their roster almost intact, but also added one of the best playmakers in Europe, Facundo Campazzo. As long as the golden generation of Real Madrid can stay at the highest level and contribute as part of the rotation, the team will be one of the main contenders for the title. Moreover, they are the team with the most appearances in the Final Four in the last 10 years, which says a lot. That's it. Another video comes to an end. These were our power rankings for this year's Euroleague. What do you think? Did we get them right? Share your opinion in the comments, and as always, if you liked the video, hit the like and subscribe buttons so you don't miss any new videos. This was Pick the Picker, see you in the next one.